All right, hi guys. We are going to get you started on some practice today with some more solving of equations. Most of these are two-step equations again, and we've done some of this practice before. This particular worksheet, it's a riddle worksheet, has some two-step equations. One more difficult step because there are some fractions put in here. But also, what I really want to practice is writing the equations on your own, because that's what we just did some notes on, writing some equations and then being able to solve them. So I'm going to start doing a couple of these with you. There is not enough room on this worksheet to be able to write these equations, solve them the way that we need to. So we are not going to show any work on this worksheet. You can just use it for the riddle. We are just going to copy the problems down onto another piece of paper. So you can either get another line sheet of paper, or I gave you on the next couple of pages, I gave you 2 work pages for this. So that's where I'm going to end up doing my work, on the why did the chicken cross the road worksheet. So the very first one we're going to do is, let's just go ahead and do the first one. This is 5 plus 4n equals 29. So I'm going to go to my work page. This one was letter E, it said on there. It's kind of strange because it doesn't have a 1. This is letter E. 5 plus 4n equals 29. And I am going to show my work on both sides and do the check for this. So you guys need to do that for all of them. Let's see, I am going to try to get the n by itself. So this plus 5, this 5 that's hanging out here needs to go. Subtract 5 from both sides, and let's bring down what I have left. 5 minus 5, bye-bye. Bring down a 4n equals, and 29 minus 5 is going to give me 24. Now I've got a 4n, which means 4 times n, so how am I going to get rid of times? I do the opposite and divide, and I like to just put my dividing line like this. You can write a division sign like this if you want to. I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides, and 4 divided by 4 is just 1. That cancels out and leaves me 1n. n equals 24 divided by 4, 6. So I think that n equals 6. I'm going to go to a darker pen here. I'm going to do my check. So the check for this one, I go back to the original equation, write it in the exact same order, but instead of my n, I plug in a 6, because that's what I think n is. 5 plus, now do I just write 46? No, 4 times n means 4 times n, so 4 times 6 equals 29 question mark. All right, and here's where I get out my calculator just to make sure that I wasn't playing mind tricks on myself here. I can't just type in 5 plus 4 times 6. The calculator does not do the order of operations, so I know I have to do multiplication first with the order of operations. 4 times 6 gives me 24. And then even though I'm pretty sure, let's double check, 5 plus 24, okay, it's worth it. Just for that second of typing it into the calculator, just in case it helps us catch mistakes, because we will have some. So then I've got n equals 6. For this E right here. I can go back, maybe I'll write that right on here just so I remember, n equals 6. And we go and we find anywhere there is a 6, let's see, right here, and we're going to write, this was exercise E. We're going to write the E right above the 6, kind of like our last worksheet. So E, looks like there's one way over here. I think that's it. We'll see if I missed any more later. So that's the idea for this one. I'd like to do one more with you on the top part. I'd like to actually skip down to L right here. We're going to do this L only because we haven't had one yet where we had a fraction coefficient in front of a variable. And I want to show you a couple of different ways you can approach this. It's not any harder. You just have to know what to do. So we're going to do L, and I'm going to copy that down. So we've got negative 13 minus 1/4 h equals 7. Go to my work paper. We can do this one out of order as long as we label it so we know which one it is. Negative 13 minus 1/4 h equals 7. All right, so here's my problem. All right, what do I need to get rid of to start getting the h by itself? Here's my equal sign. That negative 13 needs to go first. I need to undo any addition or subtraction first. So if I'm at negative 13 and I want to make it go away, make it turn into 0, I can just add 13. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Keep it balanced. So now negative 13 plus 13 just becomes 0. Bye-bye. See you later. And I've got to be careful to bring down everything I have left here. that everything that I've got left is this whole negative now 1/4 h. It was minus 1/4 h. Without anything in front of it, it becomes a negative. And if we had wanted to, could we have changed this just to plus a negative from the beginning? And it would have been obvious that we had a negative 1/4 h left. Right? What is 7 plus 13? That gives me 20. So I get this new equation, negative 1/4 h equals 20. All right, you can think about this a couple of different ways. We could think about, what are we trying to get rid of? We're trying to get rid of negative 1/4 times h. We're trying to get rid of multiplication, so we could divide. We could divide both sides by negative 1/4. Now, if I do that, I know that to divide by a fraction, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work to flip the second guy and multiply. So there's another way that you can think about this. Isn't 1/4 of h, 1/4 times h, 1/4 of h, really just the same as h divided by 4? I could think about this as a negative still, h divided by 4. 1/4 of h is just something divided by 4. And in that case, what am I trying to get rid of? I'm trying to get rid of dividing by 4. So what could I do? I could multiply by 4. What's going to happen is it's the same process, guys. Whichever way it's easier for you to think about. If I divide by 1/4, that's the same as flipping the second guy and multiplying by 1/4. So my process here, if I see this and say, all right, I've got 1/4 in front of that, how do I make 1/4 go away and turn into 1? Well, 1/4 times 4 is 1. The step that's going to work for both of these is to multiply by 4. Let's talk about whether we should do positive or negative here. But if I did 1/4 times 4, that would just be 1. They would go away. Same thing here, right? If I multiplied by 4, dividing by 4 times 4, it's going to go away. It's going to cancel each other out. But this negative right here, I want to make that negative go away too. And all I want to have left is h. So if I do a negative times a positive, I'm still going to have a negative left. How do I just get rid of the negative? Negative times a negative will make it go away. So I've got negative 1/4 times negative 4. That's going to cancel out and just become 1. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. And I'm going to bring down what's left. h equals positive 20 times negative 4 is going to be negative 80. So that's what I think it is. Let's do the check. Maybe I'll do this check in green. I'm going to go back and plug it into the original equation way back up here. Exact same order. Negative 13 plus negative, it was minus 1/4, or plus negative 1/4 times negative 80, because I think that's what h is. Does that equal 7? All right. So I know I've got to do my multiplication first here, guys. 1/4 of 80 is just 80 divided by 4. Negative times a negative would make it a positive. So I've got 80 divided by 4 would be 20. And I can double check what's negative 80. Whoops. Negative 80 divided by negative 4 gives me 20. So this is going to give me a positive 20. Now what's negative 13 plus 20? Let's make sure. I'm going to clear this out. 13 negative plus 20 gives me a positive 7. So woohoo. That worked. So when you've got a fraction in front, you can think about it as being divided. Or you can think about, I could have actually divided by 1/4, which then is flipping the second guy and multiplying by 4 anyways. So that's the only new thing that we've seen today. What did we get? H equals negative 80 for L. Turn this over. We had H equals negative 80. So any negative 80s on the top, we'll go put an L by. All right. The last two that I'm going to do with you, we are just going to set up a couple of problems. And I'm going to help you set them up on here, but then when it comes time to actually do the work and solving, you definitely need to copy down your equations onto the other page so that you can do the solving of them. I know you can do the solving. We've done a lot of practice with that. Let's just talk about setting them up. So let's look at this K. Joe is thinking of a number. 4 less than 9 times the number is 176. Okay, some words there. Is means equals. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Anytime you see just an is by itself and we're trying to translate from English into math symbols, is means equals. What about 4 less than 9 times the number? Does 4 less than mean, I'm going to write over the side, 4 minus something or something minus 4? If it's 4 less than something, it's going to be this. You're taking something and taking away 4. It's 4 less than that. So if something is 4 less, we've got 4 less than 9 times the number, it's going to be something and then minus 4. 4 less than, and what's it 4 less than? 9 times the number. Do we know what the number is? We don't. We're going to use a variable. You can use whatever you want. I'm just going to use x. 9 times the number would be 9 times x. So this is 4 less than, taking away 4, 9 times the number, is, we said, means equals 176. There is our equation then. And to find Joe's number, that's what x stood for, you're going to copy this down on your other piece of paper, you're going to solve it, and you're going to check it. All right, let's do one more. Let's skip over to P, and we can write this one right here, but then you'll also put it on your paper, solve it, and check it. A table and 8 chairs together weigh 97 pounds. If the table weighs 25 pounds, how much does each chair weigh? Okay, so we've got a table plus the chairs, just giving myself the situation, and all of that together weighs 97 pounds. Okay, so table plus chairs, all of it together has to equal 97 pounds. Do we know how much the table weighs? Yeah, the table weighs 25, just one table by itself. Do we know how much the chairs weigh? We don't know how much each chair weighs. Well, how many chairs are there? There's 8 chairs. So if each chair weighs, what should we call it? Should we call it a C for the chair weight, or an X? If it's one chair, it would just be X. If it's 2 chairs, 2 times X. 8 chairs would be 8 times X. So table plus the chairs equals 97 pounds. And that's what you'll copy down onto your work page when you're ready to do these, to be able to then solve those and do the check. So, just a reminder for these. You are going to show all work and show your check. And use the calculator for the check, so that you make sure you're actually checking it. You don't want to waste your own time by just writing it because I'm telling you to write it, right? Make sure that it is correct. And then you will get the answer to these 2 riddles that are on here. So this is due next time we have class. I'll let you have some work time on that.